So I don't want to walk into something knowing full well, and I've publicly made this known now, that I'm likely to be a victim of such a sudden repricing that stop losses will not help you. Period. So you have to, if you're a speculator, if you're an investor, you got to go to where an asset class that makes the most sense. And right now, it's stock index futures. That might not sit with you well. It might not be your cup of tea. It might make you think, well, this is not going to work out for me. So I'm going to move on. Move on and trust that I wish you the best. But I want you to trust what I'm saying, because if you get hurt financially, it's probably going to be way worse than you ever could imagine. Imagine owing more money than you had in your account. Where are you going to get that money from? See, your gurus don't tell you that stuff. Your educators, your booksellers, course makers, YouTubers, they don't tell you. But that's what's coming. If the last bastion of free enterprise and wealth creation is speculation and there's a global reset, do you honestly think that these folks are going to let you operate exclusively outside of their control and make the kind of money that they're used to making? That's the whole plan, the division of classes. It's going to be only the rich and everyone else poor. So I'm riding this wave as long as I can in the markets that I trust. I cut my teeth on index futures. Consistency immediately was there for me, where I had hit and miss wins and heavy losses and blown accounts when I was trading other commodities in the beginning because I had no. But when I became more systematic about how I was trading, what I was looking for, what type of move I would look for, the framework, I could see the trade before it would be in the chart. That was in S&P and bond market trades. Whereas everything else was, I hope it just goes parabolically, like straight up, because that's what I was believing that all of the commodities would do. If they're going to go up, they got to go up, limit up 20 days in a row. That's how myopic my view of the markets was when I first started. I was, 20-year-old man, limited understanding about money and didn't make much of it. So it's not a surprise to see someone hold the opinions that I had, because I had one book read, and it was a rag. It was useless. It wasn't even worth the paper it was printed on. But because it gave me the hope that I could get out of the rat race with it, I went headlong into it. Then when I finally learned how to trade, years later, not months later, not a couple weeks later, not 120 days, not 90 days or 1 week boot camp, it took years, because I have a lot of character flaws that I still wrestle with. And until I learned how to master myself, I could not master my trading. I had to get out of my way. And I didn't realize for a long time that I was the issue. I was the problem. I was the very thing keeping me from finding consistency. But I would argue and insist it was something else. It was the system I was using. It was broken. Let me go buy another book, another course. It had to be something other than me. And that's the trick. That's the fallacy that educators like to take advantage of, because there's a constant flow of new suckers. Like P.T. Barnum said, there's one born every minute. So when I talk to you in this capacity, there is no PayPal link. There's no donations. I don't want to do premiere videos anymore because people started giving me money. I don't want that. I don't want anything from you except for your story. I want you to tell me what you did with it, and that you were protected the wrong things with it. And if you are able to do well, that you share your story with me, that how you helped somebody else. maybe you lent somebody a helping hand by paying their mortgage because they lost their job. That type of stuff has an eternal reward. Plus, it feels amazing. They can't afford groceries; they're down and out, and you buy them a month's worth of it. That feels better than just winning in a trade. I'm telling you, folks, if you do these types of things, it's infectious. Like it makes you feel good about being who you are. And people love you for that. They love you for that. And that's what we need, more of that. Not, I want to stand out on social media and be looked up to as a hero. I don't want any of you looking at me like that. But I do want you to listen to me because the things I'm talking about, I believe they're going to help you and not harm you. I don't sell you millionaire dreams. I tell you that if you do what I say you're going to do, should do rather, you'll do well. And that is defined by the limitations you place on yourself. You can make it as much as you want, or if you just want to make your ends meet, that's what I think is the most reasonable thing to do. If you can find a way to make your largest expense each month through your speculation, to me, that's rich because your major expense, the one that cripples you if you don't have your total hours worked at your job or your second job or your wife or husband working with you as a second income, if that doesn't happen, you can't make that major expense each month. So your ends don't meet. But if you have that major expense each month covered in your speculation, man, imagine that. Forget Lamborghinis, okay? Forget Corvettes, forget living a jet set life. Forget that. Start by making ends meet. I have a lot of students that aren't millionaires, but they don't work anymore. Do you think they're looking at Monday and groaning to their soul? Oh man, Saturday's already started, and it means I only have today and Sunday, and then I got to go back to Monday again. They look forward to Monday because they know that they're not chained to the desk. They're not chained to their boss's limitations of when and how they can do something at the prostituted rate of return in exchange for their services to that employer. I mean, maybe y'all like being prostitutes. Maybe that's what you want to stay doing. You want to be pimped out by your employer, tell you you got to work the corner Monday through Friday, and you'll get a vacation when they say you have a vacation. And you're not going to make any more money, but you better start doing more tricks because the workload's increased and the staff has been reduced. So the Johns are all your responsibility. Maybe that analogy is a little too crude, but guess what? That's how I view working for other people. I don't have a pimp. And to me, if anybody just says, I'm going to just live my life living for my employer, you're cheating yourself. You're cheating your spouse, your significant other, your children. But how can you get to that level of wealth? Notice I said earlier, if you just have your major expense each month covered in your speculation, that's rich. You're a rich person if you can do that because 98% of those individuals that you see passing you by each day, they can't do that. They don't even have an understanding that this can be done. Remember the first time you talked to somebody about Forex? Huh? What's a Forex? What do you mean you can make money by touching your screen and all of a sudden it just goes in your account? How can that happen? Where's it coming from? Whose money did you take? Is this legal? Yeah. So it's to me, it's amazing when I sit down with someone for the first time and explain to them what I've been doing my entire life. And they're like, how's that possible? Well, first of all, you got to understand that school is the indoctrination centers that make you stupid. All of us start out stupid. There isn't anybody that comes into this world and grows up as a child and is not falling out of the dumb tree and hitting every stupid branch. All of us are scarred with it. But the smart individuals, the ones that are thinking outside the box, okay, they get a taste of that bullshit and they think, there's something better has to exist because I can't keep doing this. I got a wife, I have a husband, I have children, I have, my weekend warrior friends that I hang out with. But is this it? This is it. This is the American dream. I'm tied to a 30-year mortgage. I'm paying out my ass. And then the government tells me I better pay more rent and property taxes each year or the thing that I own away. And I got to go back to that same place that I can't stand to work around the same people because they're in the same situation I'm in. They're miserable. You're forced to be among other livestock. And you're wondering why the place stinks like shit.